and we're very excited to be able to partner with University YMCA with their Friday Forum series. I just wanted to say a quick welcome, and also in the slides beforehand, you'll see we have a lot of co-sponsors for this series, so just a shout out to all of the university units and community organizations that help us make this possible. I'm going to go ahead and hand it to Anne with one quick announcement, and then we'll get started with our panel.
Thanks, Michelle. Welcome to University YMCA. We're really glad you're here, as always. I do have just one announcement to highlight. It's been flashing up there, I think, earlier. You all know from the Friday Forum Conversation Café cards that next week we have the Reverend Sierra Bates Chamberlain here from Live Free, Illinois. We're super excited to have her here for the Friday Forum. But I do want to also note that she is here as part of a larger project, which is the Illinois Interfaith Conference. And next Saturday, the 28th, we have Dr. Rami Nashashibi, who is the founder of the Inner City Muslim Action Network, together with Reverend Sierra with Live Free Illinois. They together are the Faith Over Fear Network out of Chicago, a network of faith leaders who organize the resistance to immigration and enforcement around the Broadview detention facility. So for those of you who recognize that news, before kind of all eyes turned to Minneapolis, we were all looking at what was going on at the Broadview Detention Center. These are the folks that organized that massive resistance that happened there. They're coming here to talk to us about organizing strategies, and it's going to be a fantastic conference. It's a free conference. We do this every year with a different topic each year, but this one is particularly timely as we're looking at how to support a variety of folks in our community. They will be talking about interfaith organizing for democracy. You are welcome to come if you are just available in the morning. You can just come for that keynote with Reverend Sierra and Dr. Rami, or you can come for the whole day. I see several people in attendance here who I know are registered, but there's room for more. So please consider looking that up and coming to the conference. Thank you.
And those of you that know me know I'm a talker, so I actually have a script to follow so we can stay on time and on task, okay? So bear with me. I am excited to welcome you all to Friday Forum Conversation Café. We are thrilled to have you to join us for what I hope to be an insightful and engaging discussion. We are here today to shine a spotlight on the profound impact and enduring legacy of the Divine Nine organizations right here in our vibrant Champaign-Urbana community. For decades, these historically Black Greek letter fraternities and sororities have been pillars of service, scholarship, and social justice, shaping leaders and uplifting communities across the nation. In Champaign-Urbana, their presence is deeply woven into the fabric of our civic life, contributing significantly to education, economic empowerment, and cultural enrichment. Today, we will hear from a distinguished panel of leaders representing the various D9 organizations. They will share their perspectives on the vital work being done, the challenges faced, and the exciting future that lies ahead. Our goal is to foster a deeper understanding of their contributions, explore avenues for greater collaboration, and celebrate Black History Month through the unwavering commitment of these organizations to our local shared community. Before we have the panelists join us up front, I want to share a quick video from CBS that helps us all understand who these organizations are and a little about our national history. This video is a few years old, but it gives a great foundation for today's conversation.
There's been a spotlight on African American sororities and fraternities lately, ever since Vice President Kamala Harris thanked members of her sorority and the Divine Nine for supporting her campaign. What exactly is the Divine Nine, and how are Black fraternities and sororities different from all the others? CBS 2's Elise Finch gives us an introduction.
One moment.
I broke it.
Oh.
Go ahead and greet your neighbor while we have
The
the
Divine Nine. What exactly is the Divine Power Black fraternities and sororities different from all the others? CBS 2's Elise Finch gives us an introduction.
The idea that African Americans who are going to college can all
Campaign. What exactly is the Divine Nine, and how are Black fraternities and sororities different from all the others? CBS 2's Elise Finch gives us an introduction.
For your viewing pleasure.
Gotta have the tunes.
This is defeating the purpose. Wait.
African American fraternities and sororities are just integral of the Black community as the Black church. They represent kind of the idea that African Americans who are going to college can also be something larger than themselves.
Sorry, you all.
They're working together to kind of basically go into society and to, in some ways, prove that one is a first-class citizen in contrast to what America is saying to the Black community.
Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, founded at Cornell University in 1906.
Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, founded at Howard University in 1908.
Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, founded at Indiana University, 1911.
Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated was founded November 17, 1911 at Howard University in Washington, D.C.
Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, founded at Howard University in 1913.
Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, founded at Howard University in 1914.
Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated was founded on the campus of Howard University on January 16, 1920.
Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated was founded at Buffalo University in 1922.
Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated, founded at Morgan State University, 1963.
So we are learning that due to music copyright issues, that the audio has been leaked out.
Basically, I just love what I saw. I love the system, and I love how they supported each other.
Okay, we're just gonna stop. We're gonna stop. So the whole purpose of the video was to give you all kind of that historical foundation of how our organizations came to be nationally and some of the work we were doing from the national level. Because what a lot of people don't realize is our organizations have a national headquarters, and then we have individual chapters in our communities, locally, and on college campuses. So, my little script says, while the video did a great job sharing our history and work nationally, it is also important that we connected right here to Illinois. All of our panel guests today represent the alumni chapters here in the Champaign-Urbana area. As our panel guests make their way to the front, I would be remiss if I did not highlight Black organizations have been the foundation of serving the Black community in Champaign-Urbana. Our members have opened their homes to U of I students when they couldn't live on or did not feel safe on campus. We have led protests and advocated for student rights. We have served as past deans of colleges here at the university, illustrious faculty and staff, local teachers, school board members, and administrators. We are represented as the current City of Champaign Chief of Police, local restaurant and business owners. So if you're hungry, be sure to check out Wooded Hall Barbecue and Nothing But Cakes, shameless plug. Lawyers, doctors, musicians, clergy, coaches, mentors, and the list goes on. Our collective goal has always been providing the resources and supports to the children and families of Champaign-Urbana. It is my hope that after the panel today, you will be more acquainted with our organizations and the work we do. So at this time, I invite my panel guests to please come forward. I feel like I should have some music.
Sit in order, sit in order.
Wherever you're comfortable, wherever you're comfortable. There's also 2 chairs at the end. All right, let's give them a round of applause. So welcome, panelists. We will begin with a series of questions for you all that we have prepared. Then we will open the floor to questions from the audience. So to begin, panelists, if you could please introduce yourselves, share your name and your pronouns if you choose, your career and your profession, the organization you're a member of or your current chapter, and how long you have been a member. I should say we're going to pass the mic as well for audio purposes. You should be able to take it out.
You can start with that one.
Okay, all right. So I am Dr. Nathan Stevens. I'm Assistant Professor of Social Work, Illinois State University. I am the Vice President of the Zeta Xi Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And I actually was initiated into the Xi Epsilon Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha April 4th, 2009, so 17 years. I am full with that.
It's okay to take it out.
My name is Janelle Hardy. I am the Director of Business Services here at the University of Illinois in the College of Fine and Applied Arts. I am a member of the Epsilon Omega chapter here in Champaign-Urbana. I serve as the chair of our Connection and Social Action Committee, and I've been a member for 4 years.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Prince Robertson, pronouns are he, him. I serve on senior leadership at Eureka College, interim vice president of the student affairs. I've been a part of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated for 18 years now, initiated in Saginaw, Michigan, Saginaw Alumni Chapter in 2008. Currently, right now, I work with a part of the chapter here, Champaign-Urbana Alumni Chapter, Kappa Alpha Psi, and I'm the Guide Right Director. And so our Guide Right Director is basically the director of our youth within the community, high school age boys.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
All right. My name is Kimberly Alexander Brown, and I currently serve as the Acting Assistant Vice Chancellor for Student Success, Inclusion, and Belonging, as well as the Executive Director for the Jeffrey Center and the Director for the TRIO programs. I am here representing the Champaign-Urbana Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I have been a member in April. It will be 33 years.
Good afternoon. My name is Chandra Somerville. I am a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I am the president of our local graduate chapter, Theta Lambda Zeta, and I was inducted into the sorority in March of 1998. And I currently work at the Champaign County Mental Health Board and Developmental Disabilities Boards. We are a local funding body that is basically a public trust fund where public tax dollars are utilized in order to provide services for people living with mental health, developmental disabilities, intellectual disabilities, and substance use disorder.
Hello, my name is Angela Clark-Terrell. I am the Business and HR Services Manager for the Jeffrey Center here on campus. I currently am the second vice president in the graduate chapter of City Sorority Incorporated here in Champaign. The second vice president is also the advisor for our undergraduate chapter. And in May, I will celebrate 18 years in the sorority.
Hello everyone, my name is Anthony Solis Jr. I got to read from my notes just so I can make sure I keep time perfect. My pronouns are he, him, his, and bro. And I'm a postdoctoral research associate for what is called the Center for Culturally Responsible Evaluation and Assessment, which is a part of the College of Education at the University Center, focused on cultural-based research and evaluation. I'm a member of BASIS, which is another word for president of the Sigma Xi graduate chapter, and I joined in spring 2011 to be in the Pi Psi chapter, so I'm also in the University of Illinois. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Marcus Smith. I'm a member of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. I'm the vice president of our graduate chapter here. Our graduate chapter is Kappa Omega, and we're a stretch called Central Illinois that includes Wilmington, Champaign, Urbana, Danville, Decatur, and surrounding cities. I'm also the regional community service chair for our Midwest region. And my occupation here on campus, I work for Illinois Quantum Information Science Technology Center as their education and outreach coordinator. Education background, I'm also alumni of the University of Illinois.
All right, now I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you about myself. I am the current first vice president of the Champaign-Urbana Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I was initiated 25 years ago, March 18th, coming up, so I'm super excited, in the Beta Chi chapter, which is at Lane College in Jackson, Tennessee, which is a small HBCU. All right, panelists, thank you for being here today. Let's jump into these questions. Okay, now I have a couple questions. You all don't have to answer every question, but let's take 2 or 3 responses and we'll kind of play it by ear to make sure we save time for audience questions. So my first question is, how does your organization use visibility, so our colors, our symbols, our letters, to provide positive role models for young people and families in our communities?
For us, we do it individually and collectively as an organization. So we have our national programs, Go to High School, Go to College, Project Alpha, Voteless People, a Hopeless People, and we also have a local program here called Masterminds, where we're mentoring young men. But we also have the Arthur V. Cooper Scholarship given to young black male seniors in the Champaign-Urbana area. And then individually, we do things such as Brother Jamal Matuka is the assistant principal at Stratton Elementary. Brother Tracy Dace is the founder and executive director of DREAM, the DREAM program. Also, where Brother Martez Miller works there, and I've been affiliated with DREAM. Brother Jeffrey Barstow worked with youth through his church, and Brother Kellie Blanden is a school resource officer at Centennial. So we work collectively as an organization, but individually in various manners throughout the city.
Thank you for sharing. Would someone else like to chime in?
Grab a mic.
That's trouble there, buddy. I can chime in. Regarding the colors of our fraternity, our colors are gilded brown and charcoal gold. The brown is to symbolize the color of our skin. It's brown and black men. Of of Iota Phi Theta fraternity, and also the gold represents kind of like building that fidelity, prosperity, kind of within our community. So those are kind of two pillars that we kind of focus on. We're trying to do whether it be outreach, service, things like that, and try to find ways to kind of find our representation, whether it be within youth or things like that. But that's kind of the meaning behind our colors, and how we kind of shape our advertisement is based on that. So.
I'll take that. The way that we use the symbolism and the imagery that you see in we see aluminum sitting down the road is that we take the principles and values that we stand for and we implement that as a part of our programs and activities. So you'll always see in terms of the things that we do, it all goes back to our roots in terms of what we were founded on. But you will find us engaged in the community from everywhere, from working with preschools to our elementary school initiatives to providing baskets for new moms to make sure that we are encouraging them to be reading to their children from birth beyond. So we work in a variety of different ways in the community to make sure that we're fulfilling our mission by working with women and their families to improve the quality of life, not only just here, but throughout the world.
Thank you for that. The other thing I would add, a really great initiative that Sigma Gamma Rho sorority leads every year is they have a whole initiative around teaching Black youth to learn to swim, which we know is vital in our community because many of our children drown from fear of water or not being able to do that. So that is one program I know that they take the lead on. What you'll hear through our answers is that while we're different organizations, we collectively work together for the greater good of the communities that we serve. So jumping into the next question, how is your organization addressing the specific disparities when you think about healthcare, education, unemployment, food insecurities, housing? What are some examples of things that you do to kind of address those things for our local families?
So one of our major initiatives is with the March of Dimes that looks at the infant mortality rate. Infant mortality is very high in the African American community. And what that means is that basically a lot of Black women actually die during childbirth. And with the March of Dimes, we look at the prematurity birth rate as well. And we provide funding and support in prematurity awareness days. In addition, one of our members is an actual local healthcare provider, and she has made it her personal mission to ensure that Black women during their prenatal care is actually cared for as their in totality of health. What that means is that if a mother is diagnosed with gestational diabetes, she makes sure that in the chart she'll actually name it as this patient is diabetic so that they can begin to look at health outcomes, because oftentimes things that are done while you are carrying your baby oftentimes will impact health outcomes. And so that is some of the things that we are doing here locally.
Also with Africa Health Hub, we have an international initiative, several of them, but one of them is empowering our families. And with that initiative, it allows us to provide, we work with a local food pantry, St. Luke Food Pantry, to help with food insecurity. In addition, we have a program called CHIP, which stands for Children's Health Improvement Power Packs. So there are a lot of children who go home on a weekend and don't have food, spend sometimes the summers or evenings. These packs that we provide allow them to have foods that they're able to make themselves, but provide supplemental nutrition that they may only be getting at school when they have breakfast or lunch.
Thank you.
So I want to big that up as well, because that isn't necessarily led by Kappa Alpha Psi, but a lot of Greek organizations come together on that third Saturday at St. Luke's. We have our youth group with our fraternity, so we make sure, based on their schedules with athletics and different STEM programs that they're a part of, that we invite them. They wear their youth group paraphernalia along with us as fraternity members who wear our youth paraphernalia, and it just tackles a lot of different layers with that food kitchen. So for our volunteer their time on Saturdays instead of sleeping in, they can see what it means to be less fortunate. They can also spread the word discreetly to their peers, if they're in need. And they're just getting a life lesson. So I want to big up that initiative because that does, assist our community. And it's not just open to Champaign-Urbana, it's open to college students as well, if you want to stop by and get some assistance.
So I would add that, like with most of us here, we are affiliated with national groups across the nation. For us, it's the American Heart Association and St. Jude's. And so our national organization will have initiatives that they filter down to us at the local areas to be able to fill for our communities. But at the same time, those issues may not always touch our particular areas. So it's incumbent upon us to find out what our needs are for our local communities and then figure out how to shape and manage those programs from the national level to meet the needs of our local community. And so one of our thrusts is physical and mental awareness, and part of what we do is to raise money through maybe marathons or walkathons and so forth to be able to then give that money back to national organizations to provide research that to impact our communities both locally and nationally.
Thank you, Kim. So what I hear you saying is that while we have national initiatives, we also do a needs-based assessment locally to see what our communities truly need. One of the worst things you can do as organizations or people who do social justice work is to take somebody what you think they need and not really understand what the need is. So I just encourage you all to think about that. Our next question, with an invested history in voter education and Get Out the Vote initiatives, what specific steps is your chapter taking to ensure residents are politically informed and engaged citizens? We'll let Ms. Kimberly go and then Dr. Stubbs.
Well, we started our foundation is the women's suffrage. So part of our DNA is social action. And so when it comes down to the local community, we're encouraged as members to get registered as deputy registrars. We're also encouraged to get out there and have and assist with voters registration, and we will partner and collaborate with a myriad of organizations within our community to be able to do that. And of course, I had a couple other things and then completely lost my train of thought.
You're so Dr. Stubbs, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, piggybacking off of that, a lot of the work we do is in partnership with the organizations we see here. Every opportunity we get, because we're a small chapter in town, so we don't get to have many members in all the spaces, we just try to at least promote voter registration. Sometimes we're literally physically walking around with a sign with a QR code allowing people to get registered online. So just little baby steps that we take to try to just push voter registration. Every event that we are part of, for example, we co-hosted an event, and it goes back to the point we have nationally mandated programs that we're supposed to adhere to. So we look for opportunities to co-sponsor. And so this past November, working with the Sisters of Singing University Incorporated, we hosted a line dance event called Balls on the Ground, where we taught people how to line dance as a form of physical activity to combat diabetes. And during that space, we also had a voter registration drive going. So any opportunity we get. Also, this past Sunday, we got to support our local NAACP chapter who hosted the statewide Illinois NAACP's statewide Democratic Candidate Forum. And that was another space where we were supposed to promote voter registration. The reality was most of the people there were already registered. So, just trying to open up the gates and just get more people registered. And so, to that point, hopefully everybody is registered.
Thank you for sharing that. Go ahead.
Yeah, real quickly, one of our national programs is a voteless people, is a hopeless people, right? And so we partner not only with our community members to enable them to get registered to vote, but one of the things I'm really proud of is our college brothers and our sororities on campus take a very active role in making sure that people on campus are registered. I see one of my brothers here, so I know the tall chapter here at University of Illinois and the tall chapter at Illinois State partner with the Office for Civic Engagement and go into the community as well as, different events and host different events, ensuring that voters are educated and registered, and also participate as registration judges, or election judges during the registration. And so, very, very active in terms of the national programs at both the alumni level and the collegiate level.
Thank you for sharing that. I know some people may be wondering why is this important, but we have to be honest and say that representation matters. So sometimes when you're going into marginalized communities, it's important to see people that look like you, giving you this message and encouraging you to vote, helping you understand the connection to your personal needs and how it impacts you, your children, your family, etc. So panelists, my next question was about how do we partner locally and nationally with orgs, and we kind of touched on that already. So you heard us share that we partner with NAACP, the League of Women's Voters, local food pantries, national orgs like the March of Dimes and American Heart Association. So we're going to skip that one and go to the next question, okay? So how do D9 organizations in the Champaign-Urbana area leverage their rich history and traditions to inspire current members and attract a new generation of leaders and community servants?
I think that's the hardest question. Especially within our community here in Champaign-Urbana. I've been in this community since 2014. Since then, I've gone to grad school and all of that kind of stuff. But I grew up in the community of Saginaw, Michigan, and I was able to see a slightly different level of Black youth organizations, whereas there's what's called an NPHC for alumni, and they would get together and do a lot of community engagement together in the community. It's not only tough there, but it's tough here as well. It's tougher here because we're a college town, and quiet is kept. I got to be the one to speak to it. We oftentimes do want membership to increase, and we do want, our organizations to collaborate and things of that nature. But oftentimes we would get younger adults or even older adults who would be interested in our organizations, and then they're moving out of the community. So I don't know if anyone else would have gone down that route, but I think it's something that we have to pay attention to. Not saying that we're only looking for individuals that's going to come to U of I, graduate, and stay in the community. That'd be great economically for us, but I think it's a bit of a challenge as well for us to have, because we can bring in the greatest man or woman, no matter what race they are, into our organizations, but if you're only going to stick around for 3 to 4 months after you receive your letters, how are you doing, justice to our immediate community in Champaign-Urbana? So that's a challenge that I think all of us can sit down at a table sometime in 2026 and talk about it nicely and maybe figure out a plan, because we have undergraduates that are here, and we're the shoulders that they have to stand on, just as we're standing on other shoulders.
So I think of ourselves as leadership incubators, right? Because we do have our collegiate chapters that are here. And so part of what we are charged to do, and I think this happens across the board, is that we get them involved early. They have the same responsibilities to the chapter as we do as alumni, whether that's financial, auditing, programming. They have that responsibility. And they also have advisors, and they have grad chapters that go along to support them, to bring them up. So even though they may not stay in our community, the hope is that they will stay active and then go on and take that knowledge to that next area and be able to build on whatever the needs of those particular communities are. So I agree, we do have that particular issue, but my hope is that as we do this, for those that stay from the collegiate level and transfer into graduate programs, that while they're here with us, that they choose to have membership at the graduate level and then continue their training and so forth.
So there's a term that the U of I likes to use called a townie. I am a townie. However, my parents came here as university students. They were I'll say the people who were responsible for actually bringing Zeta Phi Beta and Phi Beta Sigma to this community. So my parents saw like, they're not here, well, we have to start it. So they were part of that response because they did see the gap in the college and the community and wanted to make sure that there was some kind of bridge as well. Although there were Greek lettered organizations here before then, they also, before they got to Champaign, but since the blue and white family was not present or represented, they said, we're missing our people here. And so as a result of that, they garnered community and built community by building that network because they were also friends with other Greek lettered organizations. And so growing up, watching that, being a Townie, that was a value that was instilled in me. So when I went to college at their alma mater and moved back here, I decided, like, hey, this is gonna be my community. I'm not afraid of the campus being a Townie. I see it as my responsibility and my passion to also create a bridge for students that are here in the community and vice versa. And so if we took the mindset that we are all assets instead of a risk, even when you may not see yourself as an asset, there is definitely community here in this town, and it is inclusive of the people that are not on campus, as well as the people that are on campus.
Thank you for sharing that. Just quickly, I will add, if you don't know who Chandra's father was, Mr. Willie Somerville had a huge impact on the Champaign-Urbana community for many, many years. He was an acclaimed musician, taught at Urbana High School, and his presence is always still felt in our community. So thank you for sharing that, Chandra. Janelle, did you have something to add?
Just real quick, I'm the baby on the panel, so I am the newest member of the United Organization. And for me, I grew up in the city of Chicago, so a big city girl. I came here to go to college in 19. But I found a way and I stayed. I found a job, I got married, it was a great place to raise my family, and I became invested in this community. And I started working in social services. I was working in a food pantry already. I really became involved in my church and our outreach programs. And then I found a sorority that I aligned with the things that I was already doing. So finding this for me later in life, if you will, a way to work with those that I felt a connection with, that we could cohesively help make a change in this community where I had planted myself. My child is now a Townie, right? So once that happened, I think to everything that was said before, if we can increase the need to stay, the need to really become invested in this community and want to make a change where you are, and then even if you do move about, but you take those gifts and talents that were grown here and you spread them about the world, that's how we can complete that.
Thank you for sharing that. So I see Dr. Stevens, look, he's giving me the finger, but we have
Just real quickly,
go ahead, quick.
because I think it's an important point that has been made. And so one of the things that I often challenge my fraternity brothers is that we are the fraternity of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So to me, that has a particular amount of responsibility. And I remember when I first moved here in 2017, I was literally in Walmart, and I had on my Alpha for Alpha shirt, and a lady from the community came up to me and told me, she said, "Are you an Alpha?" She said, "My son needs a mentor." And I didn't just blow her off. I felt a certain amount of responsibility because she's not just looking at me as an individual. She's looking at my organization and the difference that we can make in the life of this young person. And so we exchanged information and we got her connected. And so I think that's a very legitimate question that even if we're here for just a little bit of time, I believe it was Booker T. Washington said, put down your bucket where you are while you're there. And so just make a little bit of difference, do it. And then if you have to move on, do so.
That's powerful. Thank you for sharing. I'm glad I gave you the mic. Now, I did have one question about how can people in the community or other organizations support and engage with
way you can do that is by collaborating and co-sponsorships. So by inviting our organizations to partner with you on activities and initiatives that you are doing that align with our mission, which if you read, there are lots of different ways to engage with our organizations. And we love to partner with community organizations so that we can expand our impact in the community, because we have to do this together. So that is the biggest thing. And doing it proactively, meaning when you plan your schedule for the year, reach out early. Don't reach out at the last minute, but be intentional about how you partner. And that way you can get a bigger, stronger engagement in the community.
I think we would all echo that sentiment, correct?
All right, well, let's give the panelists a round of applause. I genuinely thank you all for being here. I reached out to you personally, you answered the calls, you know that means the world to me, and if you ever need me, you know I'm here for you. But now we're going to turn it over to the audience. We want to hear, what questions do you have? Is there anything you're wanting to know more about us or the work we do? We're going to have someone come around with the mic, so please just raise your hand.
Oh, I realize none of you were around for Project 500, but do you know of the sorority fraternities and sororities involvement in that 1968 activity?
We do. I was going to say, who wants to say?
Who's first?
Well, I will say this, as my role as the former director of the BNAC, I met several members of all of the organizations. I know Kappa Psi, I know Alpha Kappa Alpha, I know Alpha Phi Alpha, I know Omega Psi Phi, I know Zeta Phi Beta. In fact, all of the organizations were involved with that, and really even before that, Bruce D. Nesbitt was a member of Iota Phi Beta. So there's been a role of our organizations historically in Project 500 and even before that.
The thing I would add is Dean Clarence Shelley has now passed on, but he was an integral leader in the Project 500 initiative, and he is a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated.
I'm going to take one opportunity to also highlight a living legend who helped charter the Sigma Xi chapter, Dr. James D. Anderson of the College of Education. Yeah. He was pivotal in everything regarding the Black Student Association, Black Graduate Student Association. So he was somebody who I think is always important for us to repeat his name, especially while we're here.
So, right now, of course, there are 8 of the Divine Nine, and I remember you in particular saying that like your family helped to bring like your current sorority to the urban Champaign area. Do you know why the 9th of the Divine Nine isn't here, or is that just simply because nobody's done it yet?
I can speak to it. We do, look, let me get a mic, I want to make sure I'm recording. We do have a chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated here in town. They just weren't able to make the panel because it's noon on a Friday.
My bad.
That's okay. That's actually a good question, though, and I probably should have pointed that out from the beginning. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the excellent information, good opportunity to learn. My question is how you engage with the immigrant African community or the immigrant Black community in general.
So there is, we have several members that are members of those different communities, but I think one way that we've done it is through our individual work. So I am actually a part of a group that does immigration work in the community. We just changed our name again, but we were the Community Alliance. And so I am an actual member of that. And then also I was a part of the inception of the New American Welcome Center, and a lot of that groundwork that was brought here to the community. Lots of conversations, lots of collaboration and partnership and just conversations with the first director. Her name is Gloria Yin, I believe is her name. And so we all have a different stance individually, but collectively, especially what's happening with all of the things at the borders and different things like that. Our organization takes seriously a position that we all have to kind of align with. And so we also have to be careful about how we show up in those places, because we do represent a collective. We're not just individuals that are showing up. So when we have on our paraphernalia, we also have to be mindful that we have to be in alignment with policies, procedures, and how we even show up. Even in protests, even when we may individually are passionate about it. And so we may show up because it's a part of our own personal values to say, how do we protest? How do we go against things that are happening systematically? And we also have to be mindful that we represent a collective organization as well.
I would just add to that as well. Like in Delta Sigma Theta here locally in our chapter, we have a sorority sister that is actually an immigration rights attorney. So she does work here in Champaign-Urbana, Chicago, Decatur. I think she goes to Bloomington Normal. She kind of has a whole circumference that she helps support people who have been picked up by ICE. She literally is in the facilities trying to advocate and do some work for them. The other thing I would add is many of us have international chapters across seas, right? So we have chapters in the Caribbean, in Asia, in Africa. And so we have national initiatives that we do, that we partner with international communities to make sure we are keeping that diaspora completely supported worldwide.
And Kelly, I just add for us, we hold a status within the United Nations as an NGO. So in addition to our chapters that we have across the nation, we exercise that care for our various communities at a policy level. And I think that would be true for a lot of what we do, because we know that the personal is political, and so it starts in terms of that higher policy and then trickles down in terms of how we implement.
I have a question, if that's okay. I never asked a question. So, you know, my boss, i.e. Kellie Blanden over there moderating the panel, is obviously involved in a Divine Nine organization. I think what strikes me the most is just the lifelong commitment and community of these organizations. So I'm just curious, what has your participation looked like kind of through different life stages, and how has your organization supported that? Whether it's early career or starting a family or kind of any of those.
One of the things that differentiates us from IFC and many of the other fraternities and sororities is that we know from the onset that it is a lifelong commitment. So it's not just during college, but also as you graduate and you're getting into professional life or adult life per se. And so sometimes our alumni chapters assist with that transition, and we continue to support. Again, I'm originally from Missouri. I moved to Carbondale, I moved to Champaign, and was involved in my organization and in community outreach efforts and initiatives from all of these organizations in each one of my moves. And so as a member who crossed into the alumni chapter, I became interested as an alumni, someone who's a little bit older, with a little bit more time, a little bit less money. We start out in families, but still committed and engaged and involved during that time. So I think it is, to your point, over a lifetime, not just periodically.
From my perspective, again, I joined here as an undergraduate in the outside chapter. I was 19 years old, so I was a child, and I was blessed to be presented to not just men in my fraternity, but members of various organizations who were in leadership positions, including Ms. Kim. I got to meet so many people who kind of represented what it meant to be a leader, to do work in your respective field, but still represent the organization. And also, I want to put it in this perspective of, these were people who weren't overly outward about being in the organization. They just did the work. And then that time where they're seen wearing the colors, you're like, oh, that's what you represent. And so that served as a model of what I get to do today. But I also wanted to highlight another key point, just when you mentioned like life changes. Again, I was able to transition and I've been out here ever since. But one thing I did notice is it requires a lot of time to do all of this organizational work. And I commend everybody here who has families and you're married, because life in itself is so much that it becomes very hard to dedicate time to just a little bit of community service. However, we're blessed to have these organizations that challenge us and say, yeah, that's understood, but we signed up for this, and I think that it's just a great representation of why the organizations are important, especially for our college youth. One thing I always highlight is that yes, we got graduate chapters, but it's still our mission to uplift the college community so that they can be able to uplift their communities moving forward.
For me, it was an added identity. And that's all that it was for me, an added identity. I already had, for us higher education folks, I already had several other salient identities. I'm already a Christian. I was already a father, but as an undergraduate, or actually it was after I graduated, it was an added identity because I wanted to create a legacy for my children, especially at that time for my son. So added identity and legacy, but as time goes on, because I'm in year 18 now, so as time went on, I started to understand there's more importance with my organization and how I build a legacy with my identity. Like it's my identity, not Jeremiah's identity, not Isaiah's identity. So I'm glad for the growth that the fraternity and all other organizations has offered me, because now I got to meet this brother down here, Michael, who's a part of Iota Phi Theta, and being an administrator at Eureka College, I invited several individuals to come. My son is a sophomore at Eureka College. So when we talk about identity, and when I talk to Jeremiah, it's, hey son, you don't have to be a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. You've got a seasonal identity right now as a college student, but when it comes time for you to make a decision, if you desire to be a part of the fraternity, that's going to be your decision and your identity. And I believe he's interested in Iota Phi Theta, which is excellent for me, because all I want is success for my children, just as well as I want them. That's another thing that brought me into fraternity. I wanted success, because I came from that as a first-generation American. So my parents were immigrants, and I was the first to graduate. That type of story, coming from humble beginnings. So I wanted the success, right? The right success. I want the retirement fund. I wanted that. I want the 401k, all that, the right success, and what I need to be the right success. So it's the identity and legacy and success.
I'll just add one more thing and then yield the floor. I think that what we need to add to this particular conversation, and particularly to your question, is that the ebbs and flows cannot happen but for the fact that we all belong to a sister or brotherhood. And because we belong to that sister and brotherhood, when we have our ups, they're there to celebrate and be our cheerleaders. But when we have our downs, they're there to help us pick up our slack or whatever the case may be, so that we can continue. So if you have to step away for a minute, it's not, oh, you stepped away, whatever. You can't come back. It's like, you take care of this, we have you covered. And when you come back, welcome. Here's some more work for you.
I would just add quickly, I have a unique perspective as a biracial Black woman. My mother is white, my father is Black. And my mother knew early on, as a white woman, she has blonde hair and blue eyes. She couldn't help me understand what it would be like to navigate the world as a brown-skinned woman, right? You don't know if I'm Puerto Rican, if I'm Native, nobody knows. But my mother knew that I needed to be surrounded by women who looked like me, who could show me how to navigate life in America. And so early on, I was part of a lot of Delta Sigma Theta youth programs, just being in that circle. And so as a young girl, as you start to see these women leading and taking direction, it's like, wow, they're pretty awesome. They're doing some pretty good stuff. So then when you get to college, again, first generation college student, I had no understanding of the Divine Nine really, didn't know much about it, but I started watching how they lead on campus, the service work they were doing, how they were intentional about connecting and supporting with others. And that to me was so powerful because it helped me, as Dr. Seller said, as a 19-year-old girl who was really trying to find my way, 10 hours from home, that was my support system. So now to be an adult woman in a leadership role, giving back to young women 25 years later, I think for all of us collectively, that's the power of our Divine Nine. Not only are we individual organizations, we stand collectively together. So I know Michelle has a couple announcements. Can we give our panel another round of applause?
Thank you all to all of our panelists, and Kelly, the amazing DSJD director. Gotta throw that out there, she's my boss. But thank you all again for coming. We hope you'll join us next week. So next week, one of our Interfaith Conference speakers will be our Friday Forum Conversation Café speaker, Reverend Sierra Bates Chamberlain. So definitely be here for that. And then if you don't know, Dr. Yolanda Williams-Galladay, our Director of the Gender and Sexuality Resource Center, she is here and has a quick announcement.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Proud members of Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, 35 years young. I think this was an excellent segue to a program that I'm doing with the undergrads. Next Monday, the undergrads have lovingly helped me put together a panel called Black, Greek, and Queer. And it's called Unapologetically Us. And we're going to talk about inclusion versus belonging, talk about the historical context of a heteronormative organizations that we joined, but living and being our authentic self. So it's next Monday at 6 o'clock. Yeah, I'm looking at things you see. 6 o'clock in SDRP 2025A. So if you all would love to join us, for the advisors in the room, the flyer is coming. It was on me. It was me. The undergrads was great. Black Greek Council. We have an organization on campus called Black, BLACQ, for Black LGBT organizations and in my center. And so they helped me put this presentation together and be on the panel. So Monday. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And with that, we are wrapping up. Have a lovely weekend, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
I just want to real quickly give a shout out to our colleagues in the room who are also part of our organization. Please stand up.